Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my kitchen for another video. I'm Derek from Simnett Nutrition, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 ways to get more nutrition out of your food. So we already know that plant foods are super nutritious and great for us, but with some simple combinations and some preparation techniques, we can actually boost the nutrition that we absorb from our food. So I'm going to share those with you today, and I actually had a whole bunch when I was making this list. I definitely had another 5 ready to go on deck. However, I wanted to keep this video somewhat short and concise as to not bore everyone. So just let me know if you guys want me to make another video like this, because I got 5 more ready to go. So I'm going to whip through this all pretty quickly, but I will leave the sciencey stuff and some links if you guys want to learn more in the description box down below. All right, let's get started. Number 1, garlic and onions can actually boost the amount of iron and zinc that we absorb from foods, especially grains like brown rice or legumes like these red kidney beans that I have here. So I know, great news, and especially because we know that iron and zinc are 2 minerals that are said to be hard to get on a plant-based diet. So if we can increase the absorption of it, hey, that's a pretty good thing. And it doesn't take a ton of onions and garlic either to get these results. Like just a few slices of onion with your meal or a clove or 2 of garlic is more than enough to help with the absorption. This study here is cool because it clearly demonstrates the enhancing effect of both raw or cooked garlic or onions on the bioaccessibility of zinc and iron in different grains and pulses. So pretty cool information, just another reason to have garlic and onions with your meals. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Number 2, mushrooms can actually create and store vitamin D that they get from the sun. I know, it's pretty wild, but it's true, and a significant amount of it as well. So most store-bought mushrooms are actually grown in the dark and contain almost no vitamin D at all. However, what you can do is you can take store-bought mushrooms just like this and you can put them out in the sun and they'll absorb a significant amount of vitamin D. So how they do it is by using a chemical similar to cholesterol called ergosterol, which reacts with sunlight to make vitamin D. So not only do they produce vitamin D2, but they also produce vitamin D3, and some mushrooms like shiitake have even been shown to produce vitamin D4. So I don't even know what D4 does, but I probably want it, I know that much. So it's hard to say exactly how much vitamin D store-bought mushrooms will create when put out in the sun, since there are a lot of factors like cloud cover, what time of day you put them out, how far the sun is away from the earth at that time, and it also seems to matter which way you place the mushrooms. So it seems that gills up will allow them to create more vitamin D than if you were to put them face down. So it's kind of hard to know how long you should put them out for and how much mushrooms you're going to eat in order to get, the RDI of vitamin D. However, something that we do know is that companies now are offering vitamin D enriched mushrooms. And what these companies do is they just blast the mushrooms for just a few minutes with UV light. And just a few minutes under this light is enough to create 400 international units, which is the RDI of vitamin D in just about a handful of mushrooms. So we can assume that putting store-bought mushrooms outside in the sun for a few hours during midday sun is probably going to give you a good amount of vitamin D as well. However, like I said, it's kind of unknown and there definitely needs to be more research done on it. And they're actually trying to figure that out in Canada right now. So they're trying to figure out how much UV light you have to expose these mushrooms to so that once they are packed, shipped, and get to your store shelves, they still have a good amount of vitamin D in them so that one serving will equal your RDI. I think that's pretty cool. So obviously this isn't going to be a replacement for supplementation, so you still want to supplement with vitamin D, especially if you live in a place like Canada that gets some very dark months throughout the winter. And you also want to have your levels checked of vitamin D so that you know that your supplementation is working, you know that if you should supplement more or less or whatever. So there's obviously lots of ways to have mushrooms. My favorite way is probably just to slice them up and then saute them with some garlic and some onions. And as we learned with the garlic and onions increasing zinc absorption, you might as well and go have all of that with some grains or legumes and just absorb everything. So number 3, you can actually increase the amount of sulforaphane that's in your cruciferous vegetables by chopping and weighting or adding some mustard to it. So let me explain what I mean. So just real quick, what is sulforaphane? What does it do? Why do we want it? Well, sulforaphane is a potent antioxidant that is found in cruciferous vegetables, and it's been shown to help with so many different things related to our health. It helps to protect DNA from free radical damage. It helps to lower inflammation. It can help to protect against neurodegenerative brain diseases like Alzheimer's. It can help improve liver function. It's good for cancer prevention. Like, there are so many different things that it's good for. Trust me, like, you want it, you want lots of it, you want as much as you can get. So when you chop cruciferous vegetables, it exposes it to air, and this activates an enzyme called myrosinase. So this helps to create sulforaphane from the precursors in the cruciferous vegetables. And it reaches its peak of sulforaphane production after about 40 minutes of chopping and then waiting. And at that time, you can go ahead and cook with the broccoli or the kale or bok choy or whatever the cruciferous vegetable is that you're cooking with, and you're gonna have lots of sulforaphane in your food. So I know that not all of us have 40 minutes to wait after we chop up our food before we cook it. So there's actually a workaround, and it's really cool. So it was discovered that mustard contains that enzyme myrosinase. And while that enzyme is denatured when cooking, if you just add that enzyme back to the cruciferous vegetables after they've been cooked, even without that 40-minute waiting period, it will actually help to create a significant amount of sulforaphane. So when I hear something like this, I'm asking, like, how much mustard do I have to add to it, right? Like, do we need to have like a cup of mustard just with like some broccoli in order to get that sulforaphane? And actually, no, it's not the case at all. And in one study I looked at, they actually tested the difference between a half a teaspoon of mustard powder and a full teaspoon of mustard powder, and they found that there was no difference in the sulforaphane content. So we could assume that having even less than a half a teaspoon is still gonna get some great results. So a really easy way to have mustard with your cruciferous vegetables would be just to make a delicious like tahini mustard dressing, like the ones I so often make. So I will leave some recipes for those sauces and dressings in the description box down below if you guys don't already know them, but I'm sure if you're following along, you've got those ones down pat already. Oh yeah, and one thing I wanted to add to this was that it doesn't seem to be an issue when eating raw cruciferous vegetables. So just with the action of chewing and breaking it down, and then the time that it takes for it to digest and sit in your gut before it does get digested is enough time to create that sulforaphane content. So I think that's pretty cool as well. So you either want to eat it raw, or you want to cook it and then have it with some sort of mustard afterwards, and you're going to be getting the maximum amount of sulforaphane. Oh yeah, and especially helpful with frozen broccoli, because frozen broccoli is usually chopped and then frozen right away, so it doesn't have any time to create that sulforaphane, and all the myrosinase enzyme is going to be destroyed once you cook that frozen broccoli. So you definitely want to make sure that you add some mustard to that one. All right, moving on. So number 4, the OGs of this channel, they're gonna have this one memorized and know it well, but I gotta tell you guys about it. So having some black pepper with your turmeric can actually help to increase the absorption of the curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric, by up to 2,000%. So like sulforaphane, turmeric and curcumin have a whole host of proven benefits. So the most common being is that it is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Great for inflammatory conditions like arthritis, but it's also been shown to be a powerful anti-cancer agent. It's also good for helping keep your heart healthy, good for different mental conditions like Alzheimer's, depression, so many different things. So yeah, it's definitely something that we all should be consuming, and if we can get more out of it, why not? So how does it work? Well, black pepper actually down-regulates the enzyme that's in our body that's responsible for processing curcumin, which means it allows it to circulate in the bloodstream for longer and do its work. So it's hard to say exactly how much black pepper you have to add to turmeric in order to get the benefits, because a lot of the research that's been done has been on curcumin supplements, and they add piperine to those supplements, which is an extract of black pepper. However, the best that I was able to figure out was that by adding about 5 to 6 peppercorns worth of black pepper, which is about a big pinch, to around a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of turmeric should be more than enough to help facilitate the absorption. So I know turmeric isn't something that you want to be putting in your food like every single day, and that's why I put it in my smoothies. And a lot of people think it's weird because it's generally not a flavor that would go well with smoothies, but if you put half a teaspoon in and just like a pinch of black pepper, you never notice it in there at all, and you get all the health benefits. So there you go. Number 5, we need fat in order to absorb the fat-soluble vitamins A, which includes beta-carotene, D, E, and K. So I know a lot of you out there are already going to know this, but a lot of people seem to be confused with the type of fat that you need in order to absorb it and the amount. And I actually learned something when researching for this about the timing of the consumption of fats, which I'll share with you at the end. So a common misconception about this is that we need oil in order to absorb those fat-soluble vitamins. So a common misconception that I want to clear up is that you need oil with that meal in order to absorb those fat-soluble vitamins. So while it's true that oil is a source of fat, it is not the only source of fat. Any source of fat will help to absorb those fat-soluble vitamins, like this avocado right here. So it was tough to find exactly how much fat you need to consume at each meal in order to, most optimally absorb those fat-soluble vitamins. And it's likely going to change vitamin to vitamin. However, what I was able to figure out was that about 6 grams of fat is more than enough to facilitate and maximize the absorption of those fat-soluble vitamins. So below that 6 grams, you're definitely still going to absorb some of those fat-soluble vitamins, and above that, there's going to be a point of diminishing returns. So, anywhere from 6 grams and up is definitely gonna help. So what does that look like? Well, 6 grams of fat can be found in about 1/4 of an avocado, 1/4 of a block of tofu, 2 teaspoons of tahini, or 1 tablespoon of hemp seeds. So one cool thing that I learned while researching for this is that the timing of the fat consumption might not be as important as we previously thought. Like, we always thought that you had to consume these at the same time at the same meal in order to facilitate the absorption. But this study found that when consumed in the absence of fat, vitamin E actually gets taken up into the intestinal cell and sits there and waits for the next meal to come along when there is adequate fat for that absorption. So I think that's pretty cool. It just goes to show how smart our bodies are and how good we are at adapting. I mean, it's kind of like the whole amino acid thing. Like, remember, we used to think that you had to have a perfect pairing of amino acids at each meal in order to create a complete protein. But we've since learned that our bodies are smart and it holds on to and recycles amino acids over time. And apparently it does the same thing with fat-soluble vitamins. So you probably should still have some fat with your meals. I mean, it just kind of makes sense and it's tasty and satiating and all that. But it is kind of cool knowing that, let's say you smash a whole bunch of mangoes for breakfast without any additional fats added to it, and then you have some fat at lunch or with your dinner or whatever, that's going to help to facilitate the absorption of the vitamin E that you got from the mango in the morning. So I think that's pretty awesome. So that's it for this video. Now you guys know 5 ways to get more nutrition out of your food. So if you enjoyed the video, you learned something from it, please hit the like button. It helps me out so much. Subscribe so you can see more from me, and comment down below if you want to see another one of these videos. Like I mentioned, I got 5 more ready to go. So if you want to see another one, I'm more than willing to. All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon with another one. Bye-bye.